Hi, my name's Deb Well, and I'm working with the marketing committee at PAICR at our social media subcommittee.
Cool. And tell me, based on your presentation that you're doing tomorrow, what are the major trends that you're seeing at the moment in the States in social media for asset management in particular?
Well, asset managers in general you're in one of three categories. Either you're an early adopter and you're already out there and you've been out there probably for 1 or 2 years even. There's some people who've jumped in and then just not utilized it, kind of like signed up for Twitter and not tweeted at all. And then there's the third group, which is actually the largest majority, and those are the people who've been paralyzed about actually getting into social media because of the very complicated regulatory oversight and environment.
Right, which we'll hear more about tomorrow. And tell me, what are the sorts of opportunities that you think are there for asset managers who are prepared to dip their toe in the water?
I think it's a question of expanding their reach. I mean, a lot of what I think many asset managers don't understand is it doesn't have to be all about the networking part of social networking and the conversation. Some people are up for it, and for some people that's very good. Many people are more in the institutional space and feel they don't necessarily need social media. But what it comes down to is it's just more distribution channels. If you have good content, you want to get it in as many channels as possible, in as many hands as possible. And that's actually probably the biggest opportunity for asset managers in terms of social media.
Right, and now to challenges, of which we know regulation is going to be one.
Yeah, well, and it is. I mean, luckily more advice is coming out. I mean, I can think a year and a half ago, before we had any guidance, it's no wonder people were paralyzed, because being in a regulatory environment, if you don't know what your regulator, your FINRA or SEC is going to say, you're afraid to step out off the edge of the cliff. But luckily, not only did FINRA come out with guidance last year, but they've actually come out with amended guidance last Thursday, which is actually addressing some of the questions that came out of their first guidance. So we should be getting more people feeling a little more comfortable with what they can and can't do and what they're able to do in terms of social media because of this additional guidance.
And Deb, for those of us working in Australia, can you just explain a little bit about what FINRA is and what sort of guidance they gave and how they impact on your work as a marketer day to day?
Yeah. Well, FINRA, I have to say FINRA and SEC because it's very confusing, I'm sure here in the States, that some people who work in the asset management business are directly under the SEC and some are under SEC and FINRA, which is FINRA is a regulatory body that covers people who are broker-dealers. And the guidance itself, in this form, the secondary guidance, was literally it reiterated some of the basic rules that everyone knows that already existed on the books that cover some aspects of social media. But then the form of this guidance was actual Q&A, where they actually wrote up, like, here's a question we had, here's how FINRA is answering the question, which I think it's very easily written, so even if you're not a compliance professional, you can read this and go, oh, this makes sense. And so I think it's actually going to be of a great help to not only the compliance departments, but to the marketing people as well, as far as making it very transparent about what's going to work and what they need to do to be able to do this and remain compliant under the regulations.
Great. And finally, what are the sorts of social media channels that you see being most used?
Well, obviously,
at least in the asset management world.
In the asset management, I think Twitter and LinkedIn and Facebook.
Right.
YouTube, actually, quite a few people are leveraging that, and then some of the others they're leveraging things like Scribed and SlideShare to share their content as well. Cool. And people, of course, are still talking about Google Plus. Who knows how that'll play out? But I definitely think that Twitter and LinkedIn are probably the safest places for people to step in first, and Facebook depending on who your end audience is.
Right. Thank you.
Thank you.